All right. Hi, everyone. We're just going to give it 1 minute or so to make sure folks who want to be here are here, and then we will get started shortly. All right. One. Okay. Seems like everyone, I mean, if people keep joining, that's great, but I think we can get started. So thank you all for joining this School Year Abroad information session. My name is Quincy Abramson, and I am an Assistant Director of Admissions at School Year Abroad, or SYA. I am also a proud alum of our SYA Italy program. And we have some wonderful alums here with us who are going to introduce themselves to you in multiple languages. So, Alita, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Should I go English or Spanish first?
Spanish first.
Okay. Well, hola, soy Alida, soy de California, vivo en California, en Palo Alto, y yo estudié en Zaragoza por solo un semestre el año pasado. ¿Y qué más? Y ahora yo voy a Castilla. Y yo juego el tenis, me encanta esquiar y hacer documentarios. So that was in Spanish. I said, hi, I'm Alita. I studied in Spain last semester in Zaragoza. I live in the Bay Area, like Palo Alto, California. I go to Castilla High School. I like to play tennis and ski and make documentaries and other films. And I'm a senior. I forgot to say.
Awesome. Then all you, Anya.
Ok, ciao, mi chiamo Anya. Io studio in Viterbo, Italia per un anno. Adesso io sono un senior in high school e io voglio andare per il teatro. Io voglio sì, io voglio il teatro. So I said, I don't think I missed anything. I said, hi, I studied in Italy for a year. I'm currently a senior, and I like to do theater.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I'm going to give a short presentation, and then we will hear lots more from our wonderful alums. So, want you to picture yourself here traveling in Europe with friends, learning a new language by speaking with locals, and living with a host family. If you can picture that and it at all is exciting to you, then it's definitely time to consider school year abroad for either a year or a semester. With campuses in France, Spain, and Italy, SYA will give you the opportunity to discover a new city through the eyes of a local, gain independence, and really just let language come to life. SYA is here to turn your learning journey into one that is less focused on textbooks and photos and more on real life experiences and adventures at one of our 3 European campuses. At SYA, you will live with a personally matched host family, fully immerse yourself in local culture, and end up feeling truly at home living abroad. You will be part of a small student body composed of sophomores, juniors, and seniors from high schools across the United States. You will go to school at a campus that is just for SYA students. We do ask that students have completed 2 years of Spanish or 1 year of French to apply to those programs, while students looking to go to Italy do not need previous Italian experience. And I do want to assure you that a wide variety of language learners thrive at SYA due to our fully immersive programs. You do not need to feel super confident speaking that language today in order to attend. The goal is for you to learn while you're there. A big part of our programs is our experiential curriculum. So about once a week, you will go out on fieldwork days. This will challenge you to think creatively and critically while fulfilling your graduation requirements at your U.S. high school. Here you can see students learning about local street art, interviewing local shop owners at a market, and harvesting wild asparagus for their agroecology class. So you will be able to follow what you learn in the classroom outside of it. In that same vein, you will also embark on school organized overnight trips throughout your host country. So from places like Normandy, France, to Naples, Italy, to Andalusia, Spain, SYA students really get to explore all corners of their host country. You will also get to take ownership of your education as you craft a final capstone project on really any topic that's important and interesting to you. Some recent examples of capstones have included crafting a musical instrument, learning the art of bread making, and exploring the route of an ancient pilgrimage through Italy. We also have extracurriculars coordinators at all of our campuses who can help you find whatever you're looking for, be it athletic, musical, artistic, or service-oriented opportunities. Each campus also organizes exchanges with local high schools, which is another great way to make local friends and connections. So you will have a mix of American and local faculty members who will support you at each step of your journey abroad. Your American faculty members will teach math and English in English, while your local faculty will push you outside your comfort zone as they teach in the target language and guide you on fieldwork and weekend travel. If you are at all concerned about college, I want to assure you that colleges love SYA. Here you can see the colleges most attended by SYA students in the past 5 years. We have college liaisons at our schools who help juniors begin the college process and seniors complete their applications. All of our campuses are also SAT and AP testing sites, so you can take those classes and tests abroad. Overall, just the independence, confidence, and self-awareness that you will gain while living abroad will set you up for success in whatever you choose to do after high school. We also believe that financial need should not keep anyone from this amazing experience. Almost half of SYA families receive either need-based financial aid or merit-based scholarships. We offer over $2 million in financial aid and have 10 plus merit-based scholarships every year. So we want to make sure that SYA can be a reality for you. So SYA is a risk worth taking. You're about to hear some great anecdotes and examples of why this is true from our amazing alumni. So we will switch over to that. And as Wayne said in the chat, please feel free to start dropping questions now. We have some questions we're going to go through first, and then we will answer those questions that you may have pre-submitted when you signed up for this, or that you will put in the chat throughout this. So firstly, would one of you like to tell me about your favorite class on SYA?
Sure, I can go. So my favorite class at SYA, Hard to choose. I really loved history because it was very Spain focused. And in my, at school here, we usually get more of like a wide view of the world, but it was nice how we got to tailor what we learned to specific like field works and field trips we took, like visiting historical sites, for example. And then I would say another is theater. So throughout the semester, we read different plays, kind of did different skits together, practice our speaking and reading skills. And then at the end of the semester, we put on a play that I think our theater teacher wrote actually for all of SYA Spain, and the host families, students, teachers, everybody. And yeah, I really liked that class. In the play, it was called Pilaro y La Paz, and I was the antagonist. The character's name is Guerra, which means war. So a very fun play to do, nice to dress up, and I felt very supported at the end by everybody that came to watch. So super cool.
Thank you. And then Anya, could you tell me a bit about your experience with extracurricular activities?
Yeah, of course. So I did a few different extracurriculars while I was in Italy. For example, photography, ceramics, boxing, all of that. My favorite one was definitely ceramics. We took classes at a local studio, probably a 5-minute walk from our school, and we took classes in Italian. The ladies spoke very little English, so we really had to put our Italian skills to use. And we created some really good pieces. So I made like a mug, and I made some little things for my host family. So that was probably my favorite because we also got to speak with some of the locals there. So from like mothers to like teenagers and stuff, they all took like the people who took classes there. We got to speak with them, and we got to also practice our interpersonal skills. And it was really nice to like connect with the community that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think we're actually gonna stick with you as you tell us about your favorite food in Italy.
So one of my favorite foods is a type of pasta called pappardelle al cignale, which translates to pappardelle, which is like the type of pasta. It's long and flat, and cignale is like boar sauce. Doesn't sound very appetizing, but it's very good. It's ground boar, and my host family actually would make it for me all the time. It would be our Sunday dish, and I loved it because it kind of represented like family time for me. And it brings back like great memories with my host family, just sitting around the table on Sundays, and like talking with each other. So yeah, that was probably my favorite dish there.
I love that. I also had never had boar before going to Italy and was surprised by how much I liked it as well. So thank you. And then Alita, could you tell us about your favorite trip that you went on with SYA?
Yes. So basically at SYA, you can take either day or night trips. There are specific weekends where you have that option. And so our first, I think, day trip, my friends and I went to this place called Tarragona. It is a beautiful coastal city just south of Barcelona. We took a 10 a.m. train, very nice. I got to sleep in. It was about an hour and a half. And once we got there, we got lunch at a seafood restaurant by the water. We got ice cream, walked around, sat on the rocks. We went shopping, watched the sunset. And then at the end, we kind of just sat on the beach talking for hours, watching the sunset. We put our feet in the water. It was super fun. We had a small dinner. And then we headed back to the train station and home. In my opinion, it was the perfect day. Perfect weather, perfect people. It was so fun to be able to kind of step out of my comfort zone a little and explore more of the country with my friends who now I miss so much. They're like my family, and I really miss my experiences there.
Oh, that does sound like a perfect day indeed. Great. Then I think Alita is also going to tell us a favorite memory with your host family.
Yeah, so my host family, I had a single mom and then a sister. She's 19 years old, so she was a freshman in college last year when I was there. She was studying at a local university in Zaragoza, biomedical engineering, so she's very cool. They're both named Sophia, fun fact. I lived in the center of the city, so I was like a 4-minute walk away from school. It was amazing. And my favorite part about having a host family was definitely getting into a routine with them. So small things that they did at home would make me feel really welcome. For example, my Sunday routine, I would wake up, go to my 12 p.m. cycling class at the gym. They actually have a sauna, which I spent a lot of time in. It was so nice. And then I would text my family if I was going home for lunch or if I was meeting my friends. But in Spain, typically Sunday, you spend the day with your family. It's typically a day of rest. So I would go join them around 2:30 or 3 for a lunch. And then my host grandma would come too. And then while they took their siesta and napped, I would get some work done. Around 6 p.m., we would get churros. And then I had my virtual ACT tutoring class before dinner, which we had at 9:30. So it was very nice to get into that routine with them. I felt so welcome. And then my favorite memory was probably when we went out for dinner for my host mom's birthday. And for some reason, I decided to wear a skirt in the middle of winter because I thought the looks of my outfit was more important than functionality. But my host sister and I, we spent the whole 15-minute walk back, huddled up together, laughing and singing and talking. And I just really felt like a part of their family at that moment. My host sister and I were very close. We would study together, do self-care nights, karaoke nights. She took me to dinner, introduced me to her friends, and we just really clicked. So I really miss her. Sorry, that was a very long answer for favorite memory, but I just have so many good things to say about them.
That is wonderful. Makes me think about, how great my host sister was as well. All right. What about Anya, your favorite fieldwork activity? What did y'all do?
Yeah. So fieldwork was a little description of what it was, at least in Italy. It was every Wednesday we would usually go out of the school to a neighboring town and we would go explore, and for a few classes we maybe would have an assignment, things to look out for, things to go, we would make a video in certain towns. So I took art history while I was in Italy. So our usual assignment was to look out for specific sculptures, paintings, and to use what we learned in class and see it in person, and then kind of discuss in class what we saw, what was interesting, all that. So one of our field works, we went to this beach town called Terracina, and it was beautiful, and it was just really nice. We went to this museum, and there was this great sculpture. It was humongous, and our assignment was, it sounds really silly, but was to recreate the sculpture in little groups. And this was one of our first field works together, as a group in the fall. And so this was kind of a bonding moment for all of the students. And I still have the pictures on my phone of all of us in this ridiculous pose, posing as it was one of, I don't remember the exact sculpture, but it was a really fun field work. And I remember getting really close with everybody because I think this was the second or third week of me being there. So yeah.
Awesome. I remember going to Terracina also. It's gorgeous, truly. Great. Can one of you describe, as Anya just said, there are some days where you are not at school but still learning, but could one of you tell me about a typical day at school?
I could take that one. So at school, we usually had 4 to 5 classes a day. In Italy specifically, we had 2 different Italian classes. We had Italian language and experiential Italian. One focused on the grammar side of it, forming sentences, subject, verb, all that. Then experiential was to explore how the language impacts the people around you, and different slang and stuff like that. So in the morning, I would usually go to 2 or 3 classes, depends on what my schedule for that particular day was. And then during our morning break, everybody would head to the cafe up the street. It was called Bar 103. Um, every day there were about 20, 25 students in that cafe. It was very small, but that was our morning break. That's where we all went. And we would all get cappuccinos, and it was really lovely. Then we would go back to school. We would go sit for a few more classes. So usually I would have math during that time, or an Italian class. And then we would all go for lunch, and that would be at the cafeteria at the local university. we would see local university students and sometimes chat with them. And our lunch was typically an hour long. And then after that, I would usually sit for 2 more classes at school. And usually I would have art history at that time. And then after that, I would go to my extracurricular activities. So either like ceramics, photography, or boxing. And then I would go home. I would take the bus home.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I see everyone's questions in the chat. We're almost done with this portion, and then we will be answering those. So Alita, can you tell me about your capstone project?
Yes, so basically a capstone project is a required project for all SYA students, meant to take your learning and experience abroad to the next level. And I was only there 1 semester, but full year students would have 2 different capstone projects, one in fall, one in the spring. And I love music and I love Spanish songs. So I tried to create a project that was a mix of that. So I decided that I would listen to one song from one of Spain's top 10 artists every week and then do a review on that. So I would rank the song out of like 5 stars. I would write my personal opinion on it, if I added it to my playlist, yes or no. And then I would do an analytical review of the language used in the song and what it reveals, so like figurative language, metaphors, etc. And then I also had an interview segment where I would ask people about their thoughts on the song and if they've heard it before. So I ended up talking to my friends, my host family, teachers, and then also my tennis coaches in Spain, and just like random people on the street. I would go up and ask them. So great way to get a conversation going.
I love that. Media and pop culture are such good ways to learn a language and about a new place. And then actually, I would love if you both would briefly, maybe starting with Anya and then Alita, tell us why you wanted to go to SYA in the first place.
Yeah, so I've always been fascinated with Italian culture, language, and food. I've loved Italian food for as long as I can remember. And my school has a yearly semester away assembly, and I actually heard about SYA through this assembly. One of the representatives came and spoke at the school during my freshman year, and I was like, this is a really good idea for me to do during my junior year, because I was still getting accustomed to high school and stuff. So I applied during my sophomore year, and I got in, and honestly, looking back on it, I think I also wanted a chance to be independent and to kind of figure out who I was, and figure out, how I kind of work without like the safety of my house or my parents, and like figure out who I am separate from like all of my, like from what I've known for like my entire life.
Lovely. Alita?
Yeah, very similar. I have always loved traveling. I've loved Spanish culture, and taking a leap like this was something right up my alley. I knew it would be an incredible experience of immersion in Spanish language and culture, and it truly was. It has changed me so much for the better. I learned how to navigate crowded tranvia stations, order tapas rapid fire in Spanish, navigate homesickness, and then also like budgeting and independence on my own, like Anya mentioned. And there's really nowhere else in the US I could have gone to grow in the ways I did in Spain. And I knew that was like a motivation for me applying there. And it really was such a unique experience. And I feel very grateful. It was a gift to be able to undergo that at such a young age. I mean, I was 15, 16 years old. As a disclaimer, I was unsure at first because I thought I would be like missing out on things at home. And even though I did, of course, miss my family and friends, I would really not trade anything for the experience that I had in Spain. When I would talk to my friends and family at home, I thought I would be, a little jealous or at least like a little upset or disappointed about not being there. But honestly, when they were telling me about the like homecoming dance and football games I was missing, I didn't feel any like FOMO, because I was going to these super cool music festivals, soccer games, and I had the freedom to explore a new city, meet new people, and travel around a country as beautiful as Spain and make memories there. And, I went to homecoming this year, so I really did not miss out on anything. So if any of you or your children are like afraid of that, then tell them not to be, because it really is like, it's so unique. It's amazing.
Oh, yes, that I think is a perfect, great reminder to everyone that of course it is a risk. It can be a little intimidating, but that doesn't mean it's not worth doing. Okay, thank you guys so much for sharing all that. I am going to start to whip through some questions in the chat and that were pre-submitted. Going to start with host families. That's coming up a lot. That was pre-submitted. Also, what's the process like for finding a host family, and then when and how do you meet them, and what can you kind of request within that? So if you apply and are accepted to one of our programs, you will then fill out a pretty extensive questionnaire about you and what you would be looking for in a host family. We cannot guarantee that every single thing you put on that form will be met. Of course, things like if you have dietary restrictions or something, we will absolutely make sure that your host family can meet your needs there. All our host families are wonderful people. Most of them have been hosting for years and years and years, and all our host families are background checked. If we have newer host families, they've often been referred by current host families. So they all know what they're doing, and like I said, have been background checked and everything. You absolutely can request, for example, I did SYA Italy much longer ago, but you can request things like, I have a bunch of younger siblings. So I asked for a host family in which I didn't have, younger siblings. I had people my age or older, and I did get that. And that was great. I had a host sister my age and a host brother who was in college. So I wanted something different from that experience than my everyday life at home. And I got that. So we will absolutely try to honor those requests. But if you, say, I want a host family with a black and white dog who live 15 minutes away from the city, we can't, guarantee those types of things. But we will absolutely do our best to make sure it's a great fit and that your needs are met there. And then classes. Every student takes 6 classes. Every student takes English, math, their language class, and their experiential language class. And then they have the choice of 2 electives. The electives vary slightly country to country. You can check our course catalog on our website if you're curious about those specifically, but those options range from, like we heard, history, art history, there's environmental science, agroecology, sometimes political science or economics. So you get to choose those 2, and together that is your 6 classes. It's a full array, so you aren't falling behind in anything for when you come back. And English and math are always taught in English, while the other classes are taught in the target language, or like in Italy where you're coming in not knowing much, you'll work up to more and more being taught in Italian, but you absolutely do not need to be fluent before you go. I will use that as a segue actually to the pre-submitted question about application requirements. A language test is not a part of our application. We just ask for a letter from your language teacher. So the main components of the application are a personal statement on why you want to go on SYA, and then letters from your English teacher, advisor, and language teacher. And then, of course, the kind of normal array of logistical and personal information from the student and the student's parents. That's the bulk of our application. The thing that's most important is that you really want to go. We want to know that you are committed to, fully experiencing every aspect of the program. All right, I'm just looking at the other pre-submitted questions. AP classes, our schools are not big enough to have like separate AP blocks most of the time, but classes will prepare you for the AP, and you can take the AP while you're abroad. A lot of students obviously take the AP for the language that they've been studying. Occasionally, there might be a separate AP class. Like in Italy, we also offer Latin, and there's like an AP Latin. Sometimes it depends on enrollment and what, the class sizes are looking like. But you have the ability to prepare for and take APs while you are abroad. In that vein, someone also had asked about how many students are there for the whole year. I will have you chime in on that in 1 second, Anya, but I will say it varies a little year to year and country to country. I think it's usually a couple dozen, maybe 20 to 30, and the other 20 to 30 are semester students, but that can change a bit. I don't know if you guys know how that breakdown was your year.
Yeah, so my year was a little bit smaller than Spain and France during that year. So I think there were 40 to 45 students in like total during the fall, and then like 47 or 48 in the spring. So about like 30 full year students, and then about 10 to 15 semester students that like switched out. So that was my year.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty standard ratio, but like I said, it varies a little. Cost of the program and financial aid also came up a few times in the submitted questions. So our full year program cost is $65,000. The semester program cost is $36,000. That includes essentially everything. Obviously, your room and board, your tuition. Your host family gets a stipend from that every month for expenses. That includes all your school trips and your field work and your travel. So yes, it's pretty all inclusive. And like I said, we have a lot of financial aid and scholarship options. I see someone also asked about financial aid at member versus non-member schools. So if you go to an SYA member school, you can find that list on our website as well. That means that your school has an agreement with us that your financial aid and scholarships essentially carry over to our programs. So you should not have to pay more for SYA than you pay for your US high school if you go to a member school. If you go to a non-member school, then you'll fill out the financial aid application and scholarship application, and we will do our best to meet your need there. I think, okay, yes. If a student gets sick during their time at SYA, how can we help? So we set you up with like insurance and everything abroad, and we'll connect you with a doctor in the city that you'll be living in. I believe usually actually every student goes and kind of meets with the doctor at the beginning of the year, just to like get introduced and know who they are, know where their office is and everything. If you get sick and you need to go home from school or stay home, obviously you can do that. If you get so sick you need to be treated, like I said, you will have insurance and access to a doctor. The one medical thing that we need to talk about before you go is prescription medication. There are some different regulations country to country around prescriptions. So that's just something you would want to communicate to us and check in with us about if you were accepted, but before you go abroad. But you will absolutely have access to the doctor, and our school staff and or your host family will make sure you get there and get the treatment that you need. All right, I think that was all the pre-submitted questions. Some of them were similar, so I hope that I answered them all together. I think the one thing I didn't say about host families is, yes, there is a slight range in how far they live from school. Sometimes you'll be able to walk. Sometimes your host family might drive you. Sometimes you might need to take public transportation, but we will, SYA will set you up with what you need to do that as well. If that's a bus pass, a subway pass, or whatever it may be, we will make sure you know what you need to do there. Are there any other questions or questions that we didn't answer as much as you would like? Just going to give people 1 second if they're typing, just in case. Oh, yeah. Okay. Great question. Extracurriculars are usually off-site. It depends what you're looking for. Oh, and that reminds me, someone had asked about dance as well. Sorry that I missed that. It depends what you're looking for. Year to year, students may form their own clubs within the school. That's, if they take the initiative and to do that, then those would be, at school. But if you're looking to, like Anya said, take a ceramics class or a photography class, or Alita played tennis, things like that are usually off-site, but our extracurriculars coordinator will help you find and get set up with those. Usually we can find whatever you're looking for, be it any sport, dance, choir, orchestra. Just definitely, be in communication with us about that. But our extracurricular coordinators are local to the areas that our schools are in, so they know best what offerings are available. And yes, the day varies slightly year to year, but yes, very end of August or very start of September. Yes, Wayne covered that. Yes, students, family can visit you abroad. Absolutely. Yes. First semester students too. Yeah. All right. Anything else coming to mind? Okay. It looks like maybe that's it for now. I do encourage you all, if you think of things down the line, please feel free to email me. We can also connect you with alumni like we have here. I know we didn't have someone from France tonight, so we could definitely connect you with someone from France if you're looking to hear more about that. Yes. My email is in the chat, the second one. And yes, we do grades. We are a fully accredited school per the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. There will also be, progress reports as well, but you will get a letter grade for your classes as well. All right. Thank you all so much for coming. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. That was the one slide I didn't put back up. Actually, Wayne, can you put the slides back up? Thank you. Yes, our application is due February 12th. If you apply before the end of the year, the application fee is lower. So if you apply by December 31st, it's only $25. And yes, religion with host families, that is something you can put on your questionnaire. It's maybe not something we can fully guarantee, as European countries lean very Christian Catholic, but none of our host families are gonna, enforce their religion onto the student that's living with them. That, freedom to practice whatever religion is your religion, or no religions. So yes, our application info can all be found on our website. February 12th is the final deadline, but we encourage you to get those applications in sooner rather than later. So thank you all so much for coming. I'll stick around for a second if there are any other questions, but otherwise, have a wonderful evening. And thank you so much, Alita and Anya, for all your wonderful stories that you shared with us this evening. All right.